Good morning, boaters. Keith McGowan here. I am the Outboard Dad, here to help you have a better boating experience. Today, I'm going to go off of what all the comments I've been getting of what we're going to talk about today and what we're going to do in my upcoming videos. So stay tuned. Please like, subscribe, send me any comments that you have, and we're going to go through what most of you have asked for, which is two-stroke motors. I have the four-stroke here. I am dying to get into. Only a couple people interested in that. So I have a two-stroke motor out on the trailer. We're going to put in this Mercury that we did the full rebuild on. I'm going to go ahead and sand this cowl down. We're going to order some decals for it and get that looking pretty for sale. The Ficht engine that we have just the midsection left over here, I'm going to get that off of there, pull that power tilt and trim off of there, put that up for sale. As you see over here, I took some pictures and sold as the door opens by itself outside. I took some pictures of our lower unit here. It's in excellent condition, and that's up for sale as well. So that's what we're going to do today. It's chilly out, so we're going to get the outside stuff done first. Don't forget, my used outboard motor buying guide, soon to be on Amazon. It's almost finished. I know I've been saying that for a couple of weeks, just waiting for my graphic artist and my people to take care of that. If you send me an email at keith@outboarddad.com with proof of purchase, it's $20, I will give you a $250 value of a half an hour phone session of a used outboard motor you're looking to buy. Maybe it's on a boat, maybe you're just replacing yours, for free, $250 value. So let's get into what we're going to do today, because I want to get the outside stuff done first. It's 29 degrees here this morning, 29 degrees in my shop. It's time for me to close up my curtains and heat just the back area where my workbench is to save a few bucks. But let's get that outboard in here and let's get some stuff moving around for our next projects that you want to see. In my last video, we talked a little bit about two strokes. We talked a little bit about four strokes. We talked a little bit about the death of the two-stroke. And I got a lot of comments back, a lot of guys who love their two-stroke motors. A lot of guys who just, I am nothing but four-stroke. It's very interesting to see that. I would love your opinion as to what your experience is, as to why you feel that way. So as far as projects here, like we talked about today, I think what we'll do first is we'll go ahead and get this Evinrude Ficht up on our bench, and we'll just go ahead and tear it down. Let's see what it looks like inside. We'll put the parts over in the shed for sale if someone's looking for them. I'll wrap them up nicely. Then we'll get this midsection off of here and get that power tilt and trim out of the way, up for sale for parts. And then we'll bring in our next project, which is going to be, drum roll please, 90 horsepower Johnson Evinrude V4. It's a 90s motor. This is what I cut my teeth on. I had a 79 Johnson 85 horsepower V4 motor that I paid someone to fix the lower unit, and they screwed it up. And it cost me a ridiculous amount of money. I had to buy a used rebuilt lower unit. I had said, I can just fix this stuff myself and break things and still be cheaper and learn more about it as I did. And that was my history of my starting when I was 18 years old, of working on these outboard motors and getting my own boat out on the water, saving money. So I'm gonna bring that sucker in here. We're gonna do an evaluation just like we do on every outboard. If you remember, we did the evaluation on the Yamaha 250, sold it, good motor, was rebuilt 10 years ago. We did the evaluation on the Mercury that had the knock. That was my 150 horse here that we did a total rebuild on. So that was a long time expense, great bunch of videos. You can look them up, 2.5 Mercury, 150 horsepower rebuild on my videos. I think there's 36 videos of the total rebuild. And I'm hoping that the compression is good on our 90, but if it isn't, we'll tear it down again too. And then we'll find out, is it worth it or not? So let's start with this. We're kind of finishing up our Ficht series, which is a small series. I just kind of tore it down. I wasn't going to invest the money in doing a full rebuild, but we had one low cylinder. So let's open up and see why that one cylinder was low. Let's check it out. It's a little tricky to lay this down flat with the big bump here, but we'll tilt it over as best we can. Guess we'll get you a little better camera angle. So we just left 2 bolts in here for this crankcase cover. Now let's take a look at these motor mounts. They're looking a little bit funky in here. You can see how the rubber's kind of deteriorated a little bit. Let's see if I can get you a better look at that. So it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. It will still function that way. It's just good to notice that corrosion. And this motor doesn't have a lot of corrosion. So, and we can also see our crankshaft seal here, which we can see looks like it might have been leaking, because I do see some oil residue around the bottom, but that's pretty typical for two strokes. Let's check out this crank and those pistons. There's a little pin here, little locating pin. Not too bad, pretty clean inside. I don't see any, shavings or any. Sometimes you'll burn a hole right through one of these. Of course, we would have seen it on the other side, but looks pretty clean. We'll put that aside. So if we remember, we had the upper port side was the one with the low compression. So that's over here. So I'm going to go ahead and spin this block around, and let's take that piston out first and see what it looks like inside. Interestingly enough, Mercury Evinrude, same 8mm. Yep, same 8mm socket for the connecting rods. And when we pull them out, they look very similar as well. And of course, they're different because it's a Evinrude Johnson motor. But we also have two smooth sides on the Evinrude Johnson ones that we line up, if you remember on our Mercury rebuild. I'm still going to put these aside so they go back on the same exact way, and I'm still going to label them, because whoever's going to put this motor back together or use some of these parts, if you remember, we had to buy a connecting rod from my buddy Clark to get the Mercury done. So if someone needs a connecting rod, I'll have them here stored away. I'll lubricate them, wrap them up in rags. But I'm kind of interested to see what this piston looks like in here. So like I said, I'm still going to save it. It actually has the bearing on it in the same place. It came together that way. Put it down in the same fashion that it came out. And let's get the other half of the bearing out of here so we don't lose it. Put that down in the same fashion that it came out. All right, let's get this piston out of here. See what it looks like. So interestingly enough, this piston does not look very bad at all. Now, it does have some minor marks you can see up and down here, but nothing that's scored up. This could be reused for sure. The rings themselves I wouldn't reuse. So why did we have such low? Oh, there we go. Right, this ring, see how this bottom ring I can move around? Let me show you. So this bottom ring I can move around, but the top ring is not moving, right? It's stuck inside here, so that's why our compression was bad. Now I can probably get it to move. If I work it around, okay, now it's a little more loose, but that got stuck in there. So I'll bet you if this motor ran a few times, that compression probably would have came back in that cylinder. Pretty cool. So we'll go ahead and we know which side is our exhaust side, and we'll go ahead and put our cap back on and label this, and we'll take the rest of these pistons out of here. If I find something interesting, we'll check those cylinders next. So here's something, if you look very closely, you can see a little bit of rust inside there. Rest of these journals, we inspected all of them, flipping the crank over a couple times, looks good. Now, there's nothing wrong with this, although it will be cleaned up with a little emery cloth, and then I'll make sure I get it oiled up really well. But the rest of the crank looks good. Let's flip the block over and look at those cylinders. So let's take a closer look now at our cylinders. Kind of wipe the oil out of them. Let's get a flashlight in here and see what they look like. So we do have some scoring, but nothing major. This could be just honed up. Okay, so this could be these cylinders, and wipe the oil out of the rest of these yet. So this block could be easily honed up and put pistons back in, new set of rings, and could be back up and run again. But it is a Ficht, so I don't know if anybody's going to invest in that. Now, the reason I don't invest in it, not because it's not my motor. If it was my motor on my boat and I wanted to keep it running and I liked the way the motor ran, I would go ahead and rebuild this motor. I have no problem doing it and running it. I would also get the new style oil pump, make sure that all the lines are flushed and any other parts, and do all the proper maintenance that's needed. So you can certainly keep these motors running if you so choose. That's up to you. But for me, the reason I'm not rebuilding it is because of the resale. Unfortunately, the Ficht motors have such a bad name. No one's going to buy a rebuilt for thousands of dollars, and I would never make my money back on it. So if you know anybody looking for parts, we can do that. We'll continue on with the midsection here. I've got it rigged up, ready to come off, and we're going to get that power tilt and trim out of there. We'll show you how that comes apart. There's an easier way to do it, especially when it's all apart like this. So please like, subscribe, send me any comments that you have, and coming soon, we're going to get that other two-stroke on this stand as soon as we get this parted out the rest of the way, and we'll be working on that Evinrude V4, one of the famous ones. Have a great day.